name, I'm here to change it. Like an unwanted last name, I'll rearrange it. Peers are anxious, here appears against your love. Keep it positive, I'm making it rough. What? I'm way clever, no one ever got the better. I reached the top and fell off in 1990 never. Making mine the fresher, cause I'm so raw. Got the lumberjack on, Bill Flip, Bro Ross, tipping triple doubles. Break it down, sifting through the rubble. I can dig it, matter of fact, hit the shovel. Till we find that California gold. Like we're rich and famous, make it quick and painless. Don't hate, congratulate, participate and go skating. If you got a good opportunity, don't wait, it's real simple. Brain waves cause the ripple effect. If you ain't feeling it, just give it a sec. Carry.
So if you're feeling me, throw your hands up. And if you're sitting down, make sure you stand up. Wave your arms back and forth, here we go. And if you're hip to it, act like you know. So if you're feeling me, throw your hands up. And if you're sitting down, make sure you stand up. Wave your arms back and forth, here we go. And if you're hip to it, act like you know.
Ese flaco, don't test it, vago. Can't cold as gelato, chasing gato. My name around the way will change the day whenever smoking like. What happened to that skinny back? I loved him at the open mics. In Oakland I can lead to nearly anything your heart desires. So dream a little dream and catch me beaming out here starting fires. Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds and Babe Ruth. Couldn't see the hits we making, tipping back that 80 proof. KD2, I'ma ride for you, baby boo. Haters step to me. Look at what you made me do. I make it do a little, but it's looking like a lot. Running roots in the pie, baby. Love is what I got. I'm on some renovate the rhythm, let them hate and hit them hard. Got them gigging when I'm spitting on my whiskey-driven bars. Motherfucker, yeah. After the fact, I'm getting good, what?
So if you're feeling me, throw your hands up. And if you're sitting down, make sure you stand up. Wave your arms back and forth, here we go. And if you're hip to it, act like you know. So if you're feeling me, throw your hands up. And if you're sitting down, make sure you stand up. Wave your arms back and forth, here we go. And if you're hip to it, act like you know. Yeah, I can dig it, only cause I be fucking with it. Great minds think alike, leave the rest livid. Water is 6th level, so consider the source. I'm only running with the true gentlemen, of course. Straight from the horse's mouth, they love our style. After we rhyme, they all wanna kick it for a while. So cheers to cold beers and respect to the best, cause we schooling the rest. So please don't test me, fresh off the porch, but I ain't green, yo. Learn from every single little thing I see, yo. And that's a lot, there's no way to be bought. I'm priceless, original, no way to bite this. Authenticity, and it's no sense in me trying to be anything other than I am serendipity. So if you feel me, then throw your hands up. And if you're sitting down, make sure you stand up. So if you're feeling me, throw your hands up. And if you're sitting down, make sure you stand up. Wave your arms back and forth, here we go. And if you're hip to it, act like you know. So if you're feeling me, throw your hands up. And if you're sitting down, make sure you stand up. Wave your arms back and forth, here we go. And if you're hip to it, act like you know.
think I could do it better.
Okay, because I didn't stop it.
I'll do all that shit talking later.
Yeah.
Alright. Look, man, I took my time with this shit and niggas lied to me. I was just a kid with a gift you couldn't rob from me. Can't take shit for granted, niggas shouldn't be alive. Shout they had to let it go. I'm gonna turn up before I go. On my mama and them on folk. I've been desperate, I've been broke. I've been better, I've been eating. I've been reckless, I've been creeping. I've been drinking for no reason. I've been praying, I've been thinking. Man, I know all this shit ain't for no reason. Man, I know niggas iffy, I can read them. I feel like I ain't got shit to prove, but guess I'm reaching. I feel like you did me like them niggas you had beef with. Used to be my brother, we shared noodles in the gutter. We was piecing up a nickel bag and hitting a stove for suckers. When I'm up, then we all up. But when you up, I'm out here stuck. Want my fade, don't get no fucks. It ain't no hate, it's just respect. Ignore the signs when it was there. Shit, I should expected that. I'ma always have my back, even when it's a wall to that. I don't know what you calling for, shout it, cause I ain't calling back. In my mode, I'm falling back. I done brought the Bacardi back. Every time I get a hold of that, I think of you, it bring me back. I took my time with this shit and niggas lied to me. I was just a kid with a gift you couldn't rob from me. Can't take shit for granted, niggas shouldn't be alive. Shout they had to let it go. I'm gonna turn up before I go. On my mama and them on folk. I've been desperate, I've been broke. I've been better, I've been eating. I've been reckless, I've been creeping. I've been drinking for no reason. I've been praying, I've been thinking. Man, I know all this shit ain't for no reason. Man.
Camping outside from 5 to 5, tents on the rock, Colt 45, I'm plotting. I know where you wait, I know where you work, so I'm on the shit, I know when you clock in. Dressed in all black, stocking cap in my lap, I'm strapped. Hatch is playing cause all they give a nigga straps up at half the fact I wouldn't wanna be in C don't match. Got rope, got tape, so stoked, might tape, the whole thing. Whole tank of propane, just in case my DNA on the scene make it blow up. A nigga about to plunge, I guess, I had to let the fear digest. Now you about to feel my stress. Once I press this unlock, no stop, yep, here's my best. Creeping through your window, my end goal is simple. Hit, go, get gone. I'm hoping that it ain't nobody home. When you getting later home, you gon' look around and wonder like, too late, you been raid, it's payday, and you pay. Get braid, get sprayed, that's how you get a grave or a bag on your hip where your shit stay. Leave no name like, gotta get a nigga enemies. Even if it means everybody enemies. You should've changed up your tendencies. Now you ran to some dignities. Tie you up, think you finna leave. Nope, nope, nobody. Sympathy, don't got it. Your wallet, my wallet. Hold your pray, hold mighty. Coming, don't got it, that's why.
I stay running after you. I'll be on your line. It's hard to keep track of you. Girl, I can't keep up. If you ask me, I'm down. I promise I'll try. But I can't keep up. I can't keep up with you.
Diva, I'm the 5'5" cutie, brown eyes, tight booty, round thighs. In the studio, my mic sounds nice. In and out, then I bounce like
I can't keep up with you.
I don't be where y'all go. Y'all know I got raw flow that takes me round the world like where's Waldo? Flexing, texting, so fashion, next spin, next him. Cause my phone is my best friend. I get the most love on the worst app. But I was like you know your thirst traps. You DM slide, so I flirt back. And now we thirst trap. Then it's like tell your ex take a dirt nap. Hashtag with your bird ass. First class, I deserve that. I had to let him go because he think the earth flat.
I stay running after you. I'll be on your line. It's hard to keep track of you. Girl, I can't keep up. If you ask me, I'm down. I promise I'll try. But I can't keep up. I can't keep up with you.
Who you loving, who you wanna be hugging? You be bugging, you just gonna keep fronting, punk. Acting like you ain't missing this. I only took you back cause I listen to sis. If you lucky, I'll bring you on tour with me. Yes, I'm a diva, I be on my foreign thing. Eating eggs Florentine while we quarantine. And that night the room looking like a horror scene. That's right, looking like you got body. I do the trust fall, knowing that God got me. Pop brownies and hot toddies. In the sauna playing Sade and Bob Marley. You probably can't keep up with the diva. I grab my passport and visa, I'll leave ya. Gone somewhere with my feet and my weaver. High on life, weed and tequila.
I stay running after you. I'll be on your line. It's hard to keep track of you. Girl, I can't keep up. If you ask me, I'm down. I promise I'll try. But I can't keep up. I can't keep up with you.
Mira, where you at? What you doing, girl? I'm trying to see you. Feeling extra freaky, I might even eat it. I'ma tell you everything you wanna hear. Now bring that pussy over here. Fuck you over here. Fuck you over there. When I'm behind the wheels, baby, can you give me head? Nah, I ain't trying to scare ya, I just live life on the edge. When I throw this dick all up in you gon' sweat out your head. I just needed a moment to get lost in the moment. I need you to drop a location. Skirt, I'm pulling up on you. Hopefully you got a sweet tooth so you can suck on my Willy Wonka. We ain't even had sex yet, but I can taste it wrong. Last time we had sex, I was making you cry. I was hurting you, but you say I feel good inside. I didn't wanna get a room, well neither did I. So I'm asking you, baby, can I stay tonight? So I can put this dick up in your life. And you can put that pussy in my life. I'ma put this dick up in your life. So I'm asking you, can I stay tonight? Baby, can I stay tonight? Baby, can I stay tonight?
Bring your dick and pay my bills. Baby, this ain't no hotel. I'm just speaking how I feel. Got the tongue to give you chills. You should treat me like a meal. Cause my living water hills. Baby, baptism is real. I like honey with my milk. Wanna spend the night on silk. Iguarenta make me chill. I got nothing on but hills. This the best you ever felt. And the best you ever sell. I won't ever tell. They all fake just like Mattel. I'm the realest like Michelle. Oh, bomb. Think you got that one time stick. You could put it in my soup. Is it warm or is it mixed? This might take a long time. You can leave till around 9. Ladies think we spent the night in a fight. Last time, baby, I just wrote it till you fell asleep. Oh, you so cocky, won't you come and put that cock on me? Never let these niggas see where I lay my head, but you deserve it, so I'm finna put your ass to bed.
So I can put this dick up in your life. You can put that pussy in my life. I'ma put this dick up in your life. So I'm asking you, can I stay tonight? Baby, can I stay tonight? Baby, can I stay tonight?
It's your boy DJ Rowe, and it's Historical Podcast Radio. Let's keep it going.
This is crazy right here. Spy on the beat, spy on the beat. What up? Scar, she get it. Yo, it's the summertime, so I'm around. about this time, so fine, so I riding on the bright, headed to the Coliseum, talking to my dude bro. Said, yo, do you see them girls over there? Don't stare, but still peep. I love her open-toe feet. I'm gonna go holler at her, ask for the digits, and possibly we can kick it and get lipstick. I walked up to her with my cool demeanor. I said, hey, my name is Age. Hey, my name is Trina. Hey, Age, nice to meet you, dude. But I'm leaving soon, and I don't mean to be rude, but I gotta get this food to my grandma. And I heard that Bukowski, that shit is damn raw. But I gotta go jet. So on your cheek, I'm gonna leave a peck, so you just don't forget my name is Trina. Don't forget me. I was hooked from the first look. Y'all wanna put her name up in my comic book. I hope that she can even cook. Hopefully she can even see some hooks. It was love at first sight. I just might leave these homes alone and make her my first wife. But off top, Age guy ain't the first type. Nope. I Columbo, I'm juiced, I got the number. Gonna call at 8, not too late, I wonder. Let me give her a call, but yo fam, check it. Dialed up the number, that shit was disconnected.
Mixtape Mirror 707. Oh, sigh. Flair Rap OG. OS, flow test of time, I done passed that. Them soul blowing drove, plus got checks from ass cap. Creep the streets, you slip on, fuck around, get your ass cracked. And you had the shit, but ain't get a chance to blast back. I'm just trying to make a couple hundred that will fucking quick. Reintroduce myself, cause they forgot who they was fucking with. Fifth for Remy, plus off to send me in case it's any static. Music surpasses being locked in any demographic. Thinking expansion. I ain't content to me and all of my niggas got mansions. It's just a way to pay 'em back. Thanks for all of the mashing. We smoking on something real good, candy land with the hashing. I've been spitting this for a minute, they shit that I'm lacking. Ruger 9 with the extra clip, that's the shit that I'm packing. You can tell by how I spit it that I live when I'm rapping. Vivid visions of my life, nothing specific or graphic. Oh, motherfucking G, I'm just spitting this rap shit. And been at it a long time and ain't stopping no time soon. I'm staying heavy on my grind like a nigga supposed to. Yeah, like a nigga supposed to. See, I be laughing at these niggas, studying stupid as fuck. They got the game on lock, they bumble the rock. Be switching up, I keep my shit consistent with the way that I live shit. Same A1, no cut when I whip shit. PayPal's puts out the trunk chips, they keep me liquid. Since 2001, I done push units and pimp shit. And ain't no stopping till I'm 6 feet deep on some stiff shit. Way out in Amsterdam, they know that I spit just like the niggas supposed to. Worldwide, they know I spit like the niggas supposed to. On my block, they know I spit like the niggas supposed to. Yeah, I spit like the niggas supposed to. Real rap shit, nigga. Real shit,
I reach fortune of fame.
Yeah. See when this shit kick in, I guess. Yeah. Merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream. I'm seeing niggas lose their life cause they was hustling for the cream. Mom's crying at the weight, can't bring his seat back, strap, put him on his back. It was probably overstacked some of the blocks and still kids having kids out here. Some kids alone, both parents doing biz out here. I'm in my zone, killing field with my hand on my 9. Cause if they catch your ass slipping, you don't get another try. Keep a bullet in the chamber. If it's funk, then it fly, guy. I'ma get you suckers in pendency, never my ties. Assalamu alaikum, locking down the block with a chop. Let me talk to Samson, I just tell him I'm Jamaican. Half baked, thinking of all the bread I be making. In this game, if it wasn't so many lames who faking, gotta cut the gut up the pig to bring home the bacon. I only deal with the real, I see the fake and I shake it. We got to steal your tools.
Cause the game has changed and it seems like it has no rules. Man, you got to steal your tools. Cause the game has changed and it seems like it got no rules.
Lord, forgive me, I'm a sinner. I repent and say grace before breakfast and dinner. Call me prodigal son. Lord, forgive me for my absence. I needed time to myself, forgive me for my actions. Lord, hold me down with my family, that's all I'm asking. These trials and tribulations I'm facing have got me spazzing. God said we get no more than we can bear. Where I can barely bear witness to the current affairs. I don't trust police, all lives matter. Hillary's crooked, Donald Trump is a bastard. I hate to say it, but really let's face it, I'm forced to either vote for a liar or a racist. And even if I vote for the lesser of two evils, I'm labeled a minority and not considered equal. There are troubling times in the kingdom. You better stay on your toes, you gon' need them. Yeah.
You got to stay on your toes. Cause the game has changed and it seems like it has no rules. Man, you got to stay on your toes. Cause the game has changed and it seems like it got no rules.
Backwards, man. Yeah. Damn, I hear sirens all around, so I turn on my scanner to see what's really going down. Somebody got shot and killed across town. The shooter's on foot to get a bird airbound. I called up T-Dub for some cookies to cop. He said he couldn't make the drop cause the spot was hot. I said, damn, ain't this a bitch? I can't buy no weed and somebody got hit. As though I didn't like it, I had to respect it. Cause when you move too fast, you might live to regret it. That's how the game goes, living in Vallejo 707. I said backwards, get the same code. I'm from the city where the hustlers and the killers meet. So if you come into my city, better come in peace. Stay in your lane and out the way, mind your own and live long. The moral of the song is how the game goes. One more day on the streets of Valley Joe. One more day on the streets of Valley Joe. I'm living one more day on the streets of Valley Joe. That's how it is. That's just how the game go. Hey, one more day on the streets of Valley Joe. One more day on the streets of Valley Joe. I'm living one more day on the streets of Valley Joe. That's how it is. That's how the game go. Another day comes as I wake up in the morning. I'm getting ready for work for another day of earning. I gotta walk today cause my tires on the flat. So I'm walking to Vallejo, watching my front side back cause I'm black and I'm bold. And I'm living in a city where if it ain't the police, these fake niggas wanna get me. That's why I can't be slipping in the city where I'm living, taking what I want, and I'm never giving it back. Jack, there ain't no trade back. It's funny how where I live gotta be like that, but it's a matter of fact, my son. Niggas need to put up their fists and put down their guns. I wonder why niggas don't fight no more. I guess niggas really don't value life no more. That's how the game goes. Living in Vallejo 707. I say it backwards, get the same code. One more day on the streets of Valley Joe. One more day on the streets of Valley Joe. I'm living one more day on the streets of Valley Joe. That's how it is. That's how the game go. Hey, one more day on the streets of Valley Joe. One more day on the streets of Valley Joe. I'm living one more day on the streets of Valley Joe. That's how it is. That's how the game go.
Vanish. He had to say his name.
What you doing? Putting the V on the map. I got the V on my back. I come kill your party for a couple of stacks. I go hella hard to put the V on the map. What you doing? Putting the V on the map. I got the V on my back. I come kill your party for a couple of stacks. I go hella hard to put the V on the map. I go hella hard to put the V on the map. I come to your party with the knockers and slaps. Man, I go hella harder, you knowin' that though. Mr. Management, I told this girl drop it low. I want that ass to move, I wanna see you groove. I'm from the RBR camp, man, I told you dudes. We on the move, going fast in the fast lane. Smoking on some gas, man, it's burning like some propane. Backwoods, rolled up, married to the Mary Jane. On a mission for the money, trying to get the chickens up. Feeling like Earl and Furl, your girl give me the pearl. Because she see me on my grind, trying to run the world. I'm on some white sand, drink with some chicks in bikinis. And you see me somewhere, trying to lock Kundalini. I'm a boss man, chess game, don't need you to key me. Put the V on my back last night, should've seen me. What you doing? Putting the V on the map. I got the V on my back. I come kill your party for a couple of stacks. I go hella hard to put the V on the map. What you doing? Putting the V on the map. I got the V V on my back. I come kill your party for a couple of stacks. I go hella hard to put the V on the map.
I take you out and I buy you nice things. You would say thank you, now you don't say a word. I'm cool, I like to do pleasant things, but that don't mean I'm trying to buy you a diamond ring. Don't take my kindness for weakness. Believe me, girl, because I mean it. You shame an innocent thing. All kinds of trouble you bring. Don't take my kindness for weakness. Believe me, girl, because I mean it. I thought we were friends, I thought we were buds, but you don't appreciate me, girl, and that really sucks. Now you're a pretty girl, very nice and tall, but just because I'm nice to you, don't mean I want them draws. Yes, I'm nice and my style is clean, but you don't want me to flip it, girl. You don't want that scene. Now if I act real nice to you, you treat me like a joke. But if I treat you like dirt, then you go for broke. Don't take my kindness for weakness. Believe me, girl, because I mean it. You shame an innocent thing. All kinds of trouble you bring. Don't take my kindness for weakness. Believe me, girl, because I mean it.
Woo! Anna's Historical Podcast Radio is ready to roll. Anna, you in the building?
Yeah, sure am.
Let's do it.
What's up, Roselle? Hey, what's up? Are you muted?
No, I'm not muted.
Oh, okay. You're just real quiet there. We'll quiet there for a minute. Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. It is another Global History Radio.
I'm juiced. I'm hyped.
Yes, can't hear you, Roselle.
Can you hear me now?
Just barely.
That's weird because it's turned
You got
up
a
high.
quiet voice.
Nah, I'm on the mic hard. You
You
sure your
are?
volume ain't up?
Now
Is your volume up?
that's better. Huh?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Remember to talk in the mic though, man. Yeah.
Man, I was almost kissing the mic just now.
Were you?
Yeah, I was pretty much kissing the mic.
Well, I hope the mic was vaccinated.
There we go. Oh, well, it's too late now.
Yeah.
If it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's not getting close to the mic. It's like how much it's how the mic's set, right?
Well, no, this mic isn't like a studio type mic. It's a cheaper version of a mic. It's not like a studio type mic.
Oh,
so
okay.
you kind of do have to get a little closer to it. This isn't the wireless mic.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I was pretty busy with those this week. So this past week was the Polly Murray Day, and I fucking tried, man. I put my all into trying to get it to do all the tech myself. But like I said, sometimes you need to hire a professional. So fortunately, my friend Mark Lampkin was available. Anybody you trying to do a show, sound, anything, get Mark. He's the best. So he and his assistant set it up, and then he ran the tech the next day.
How did it look?
It looked real good. the problem, like we were using the museum's Zoom account, so I couldn't stream it. And we also couldn't film it. I mean,
That's
so,
weird. What kind of Zoom? So they had it like blocked or something on their Zoom?
well, we didn't ask. I mean, it was the museum director needed to make Mark the host, and then Mark needed to make Barbara, the lady from North Carolina, the host. It was just complicated, a lot of different pieces. And so with figuring out all that, I just forgot to ask whether we could record it. And if you're using their Zoom, then you can't I couldn't stream to my page. But that was okay. We had under 10 people there. And then there was people on the Zoom from North Carolina or from elsewhere that Barbara Lau had brought in, which was cool. There was also my dad and my brother. So that's the really fun thing about doing these. You saw on the Bayard Rustin Symposium about doing these events on Zoom is that my family can come in. So, yeah.
I think that was the biggest Zoom I did was one of your Bayard Rustin Symposium.
Yeah.
Remember, didn't we have like what? It seemed like we had almost 20 people.
Oh, at least.
Yeah, that was a lot of people on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always kind of a toss up. I mean, because in other years, we've had a lot more people at the Bayard Rustin Symposium when it's in person. But this day and age, there's a lot of people that just don't want to go to another Zoom meeting because they're sick of them from work, which makes a lot of sense. I'm doing a Zoom event Thursday night, and it will probably be pretty small, but I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, so it was awesome. We started, since Pauli Murray was a poet, lawyer, and priest, and just did so many things. It's really hard to convey that. So I asked Mila J, who's 11 years old and is running for president in 2044. So she's looking for votes right now.
What? She's trying to get votes already?
Sure is.
Nice.
Yeah. So I had her recite some of Pauli Murray's poetry, which I was really, because it's just real hard to try and include poetry in a academic sort of in a historical sort of presentation, and having her do it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't like to use the word cute because that's more like, since Mila's like 11, she's like a preteen, so, but it was sweet. And so then Barbara from the Pauli Murray Center, she was together because I'd been trying to reach her before. She just had been sending me these brief emails. I'm like, okay, I'll be there. Then I was like, well, what's your title? Who are you? And because she was just answering for the center, and I was trying to reach her before, and she was, hey, Raymond, how you doing, my friend? We can send you a link in a little bit. Okay, so I was nervous that she wouldn't show up, and I had no reason whatsoever to think that she was not a professional. She runs this organization. I was just freaking out about everything. So she came on the Zoom about 10 minutes to and said, well, I have a couple PowerPoints. What do you want me to do? Wow, this lady knows her shit. I mean, she just showed, and I said, Pauli Murray 101. And she said, okay. So she gave this really great presentation. The biggest thing, okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for listening, Raymond. It's good to see you. Let us know if you ever want to come on the show. We wound up doing it on a monitor, and that was actually my idea from before we brought in the professionals. And so, because so I was getting there. So that, because the problem was because we were trying to do it on a screen, but then you need to go through the projector, and we didn't need the projector. So yeah, I was close. I was pretty close, but so then I did my presentation, and what I had wanted to do was supplement sort of the basic story, the Pauli Murray 101. I did not show the Pauli Murray documentary because I have issues with it, but I knew a lot of people watching from North Carolina, especially, probably all of them had probably seen the documentary. So I wanted to have things that weren't in the documentary, and the people that were at my show, some of them might watch the documentary, I don't know, but it was still good. What I showed was still going to be interesting to them because it was in addition to the Pauli Murray 101. So I was pretty nervous because this crowd of people from the center was going to be pretty knowledgeable. So I was nervous about that. So I tried to just look at insights, stuff and things I thought were interesting. And so one of the things I realized was that, and I've talked about Pauli Murray a lot on the show, so I don't really want to, that's sort of the problem. Of course, I don't really know who's been avidly listening the whole time, but to encapsulate it, Pauli Murray was somebody that in her life spent a lot of time being the only one, because she was a woman lawyer. And so she was the only woman in a whole lot of areas. And she was not one of those advocates. I mean, because the thing about some civil rights advocates is they wound up working with a ton of white people. And so they were always, but, she didn't do that so much, but she certainly would have had like a lot of experience. I mean, she always had community around her, but she definitely would have experienced quite a bit of being the only Black person, especially for somebody in like the mid 20th century. But so she went to the International House at UC Berkeley to get her JD, her advanced law degree. And the International House was just what it sounded like. There were students there from all over the world. And in her autobiography, she writes about all these people and all these women and their different experiences from different parts of the world, including she was from like the Jim Crow South. And so there were also like white women from the Jim Crow South in that at the International House, and women from all over the world. And this was post World War II. So there were people from countries that would have been at war with each other or were still at war with each other. They're living together and getting their education together. So she wrote a lot about their conversations. And, once again, she spoke to, and being Pauli Murray, she organized women in that group to go around and discuss, discuss unity. But I think it must have been she worked incredibly hard her entire life. And so I suspect she probably was able to be a little bit more relaxed in that area, although she was still needing to study for the California bar and write a law review article. So basically she never slowed down. But I really think it was a respite for her in her life to be with a whole, sort of like everybody in that group was the only one somewhere. The other thing I talked about was Pauli Murray's ability to connect with people, which is really a gift that not everyone has. I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm reserved. But, so, and I'm not like, it's not, I mean, everybody has different gifts, but my mom was really outgoing. She'd like get the UPS guy's life story and I'd be like, how the fuck do you know that about the UPS? She just made friends with everyone. It was kind of crazy. But Pauli Murray had very deep friendships with people, very long and very supportive friendships with people. And then her friendship with Eleanor Roosevelt was very important to both of them. And so in some respects, their lives had been so different, but they really found things that they had in common on a much deeper level than their backgrounds. So that was just something she was very good at. And I was looking at some of her correspondence with one of her friends, and she asked her friend to loan her some money until she got paid. She was waiting for a grant or something. And it was very casual. And it just showed to me that it was a very comfortable thing and that there was no drama associated with it. Like, yeah, she was waiting for this one thing, then she'd pay her back. So, I mean, the lesson okay, she had, I don't know, man. I think it was the sort of the Harlem YWCA girl gang of the 1930s. There was a whole bunch of, hey, Eric, there was a whole bunch of young women that lived there, including Ella Baker, who worked a lot with Pauli Murray, and Ella Baker, who was the field secretary for the NAACP and a core organizer for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, basically worked in just about every civil rights movement that there was. I think she moved around from a lot of different organizations, and I think that probably would have had to do with not being treated as she should have been as a woman. But so she and Pauli Murray went on picket lines together, and they learned about the labor movement, and then they both under the New Deal, there were education programs for teachers to have, like, basically they were paying underserved people to go teach people that were more underserved, you could say. And so they were able to go around to different organizations. Hey, Eric, honey, good to see you. They were able to go to different organizations and teach them about the labor movement. And there was also Maida Springer, who was a labor organizer for her whole life. And so she was there. So was Anna Arnold Hedgeman, who was also a lawyer. And she was the one woman on the organizing committee for the 1963 March on Washington. And okay, so we've talked before about the 1941 almost March on Washington, where A. Philip Randolph told Franklin Roosevelt that if he did not open up defense jobs to African Americans, he would have he would bring 100,000 people to march on Washington. So Pauli Murray and Maida Springer were crucial to that. They were doing organizing. So, I mean, Pauli Murray she worked that closely with A. Philip Randolph, who, I mean, you know, there were people that came before him, but A. Philip Randolph, the founder of the Railroad Workers Union, of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, he's considered like Trika. Hey, you. He's considered to be the godfather of the civil rights movement. And so then FDR agreed to open up the defense plant jobs, and so they didn't do the March on Washington. And so some of the younger folks were mad about that and really wanted to do it. So in my comic book, I have A. Philip Randolph saying like, "Oh, we'll do it one day," and they did. That's what happened in 1963. But the other part of that is all of these ladies were upset and indignant that there were no women speakers at the March on Washington. And they really, my guy Bayard Rustin totally fell down on that. They all just shot the women down. And they said that they're like, well, there's women there because the wives of the speakers are there. So it's just even worse to think that some of the women that wanted to speak had been there since 1941, had been part of the original March on Washington group, and were not allowed to speak in 1963. And the other thing that they did, what the A. Philip Randolph did, was speak in a forum where only male journalists were allowed. So he got flack from that, from female journalists. I mean, African-American female journalists that were prevented from covering the march for their papers because they weren't allowed into some of these press meetings. So that's a lot of what people were dealing with at that time. I'm working on my comic book, and we're doing a lot of I'm working on that era. It's really fascinating. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a super treat a little later, because after the second break, Trika is going to come on and do a rundown of what I'm talking about, of everything I've been talking about, commentating. So yeah, we can all look forward to that. So, okay. First, some good news. The world's first malaria vaccine has been developed. So malaria kills a lot of people. So yes, some good news. See, there is good news on this show sometimes. Okay, so there is a statue of President Theodore Roosevelt in front of New York's American Museum of Natural History that is just racist as hell. He was like one of these super macho guys, and so it's a statue of him sort of standing there with other people like crouching behind him. Basically, he was one of these guys who's like, we're gonna go conquer whatever. So people have been trying to get the fucking thing down for a year, and Mayor Bill de Blasio has talked about having a committee or something to look at it. It's like, come on, man. It's like, okay, the South, even the South is managing to take down some statues of racist people. You should be able to do that in New York City, but it is not happening. So the day before Indigenous Peoples Day, it was splashed with red paint. So, like, what the hell, man? So there's a book I'm very excited about that's coming out the beginning of 22 that is all about statues being taken down, like a list of them. So I'm very excited about that. And so last week we talked about Bruce Beach, which was the beach that was owned by an African-American couple in the beginning of the 20th century that was stolen. It was a resort. It was a place for Black people to go on vacation and be left the fuck alone, and have a good time. And so after and it has finally been returned to the heirs, and it is just the perfect, okay, when you talk about accumulated wealth and equity, it is a perfect example. The one of the young men, it's being returned to several descendants. One of them is like the great grandson of the original owners, and he'd say they would be millionaires if that property had not been taken away. So that's the nature of equity. So it was given back to the family, and Gavin Newsom was there and apologized on behalf of the state of California because the city wouldn't even fucking apologize to them. And I was saying, I really hope that this works out for this family, because even with, you know, even if when you leave property to a bunch of people, it's really hard to figure it out. I mean, even if even a normal house, after somebody dies and leaves that house to the heirs, a lot of the time there's just squabbling. It's really hard for people to figure that out. And so with this issue, there's a lot of emotion associated with it. And I was also wondering last week about taxes. Okay, so the county, meanwhile, has outlined steps needed to move forward with the transfer, including assessing the value of the parcels and trying to find a means to lessen the tax burden on the heirs. What they should do is go back. They should pay taxes from 1910, whatever it would have been in 1910, from when it was taken away from them, because that property is worth millions now. I mean, there's no way this family, who are just regular people, will be able to pay it. And so, and I mean, it's complicated enough if you try and split up property amongst heirs and several people and all that. That's really complicated, and then different people get hit with different taxes. So, you know, Bruce family, I really hope that what they do, first off, it's like, it is their place. Maybe they could all just go there and have a nice vacation and chill and enjoy the beach before they start worrying about all this stuff. And okay, so another story about people being ripped off in the past is Henrietta Lacks. And the film is called The Immortal Cells of Henrietta Lacks. that got a lot of attention. She was a 31-year-old African-American woman with cervical cancer, and her cells were taken from her body. And okay, here's what her cells regenerate. And I was trying to find out, okay, that's obviously extremely rare, but what I was trying to find out today is, how could it just be this one person's cells? There must be other people in the world that do that. So her family, so these cells were sold to biotech companies and have been used for groundbreaking scientific research for decades, like the polio vaccine, basically all vaccines, the COVID vaccine, the sample, somebody took like a tissue sample for, medical reasons from Ms. Lax and realized that the cells were regenerating. And so I didn't know this, but I didn't know this before, and I've read about it before, but apparently they like injected her with radium or something to try and harvest more cells. Harvest is the medical term, and I'm talking about a human being here. That is the medical term. And so her family has sued Thermo, one of the biotech companies. And what's odd is that this has been well known for years. I mean, it was a movie with Oprah. So I'm wondering, why did it take so long for that? And it has to do with, I don't know, you have to narrow stuff. When you're looking at a bunch of different companies, you have to narrow stuff down. And so that's what they did. And they can't even, if you look at how much money is being made off of vaccines, I mean, I don't even know how they can start to calculate how much they are owed. And the whole experience was very traumatic for this family. They found out how their mother had been, and some of her children are still alive. They found out how their mother had been treated, and then that all these companies were making money from her, and that, but and then there was the book and the movie, and that family really had disputes about how to handle all of that, because it's traumatic and people are hurt and angry. So I mean, I was thinking about that when I was reading about the Bruce family, and then I saw about the lawsuit last week, and that reminded me of it as well, because I mean, the lawyers are like, yeah, I mean, the lawyers care. I mean, these are civil rights attorneys. Of course they care, but they will also make a lot of money about this. And it's just so hard to find somebody that is disinterested. I mean, to really be a help and support. So yeah. So hopefully this family has some comfort and healing. Back to Eleanor Roosevelt and Pauli Murray for a minute. They were both orphaned young, and they both had mothers that died when they were young, and they were both raised by aunts, and they both had fathers die in in situations where there would have been like shame. I mean, Eleanor Roosevelt's father died of alcoholism. Polly Murray, it's way worse. Her father was in a mental institution, and so there would have been a lot of shame or fear in that era. There was just such a stigma about that. But then he was beaten to death by a guard there. So, which was more extreme. But the thing, they were both raised by aunts, but Eleanor Roosevelt's aunts were really mean. They'd make fun of her. They'd make fun of how she looked and all that. And Polly Murray's aunts were just wonderful. Polly Murray was always gender non-conforming. And so she was allowed to wear, her Aunt Pauline let her wear boys' clothes during the week. She just needed to put on a dress for church, and called her boy girl, and just always accepted and supported Polly Murray for who she was. And so Polly Murray went through some very difficult times in her life with depression and anxiety, and trying to figure out her gender and the right path and all of that. But they're like the perfect example of money not being everything, because Eleanor Roosevelt's aunts were nasty. She didn't have anybody that really cared about, that really was kind to her and nurtured her until she went to boarding school. So in other words, money helps a lot. Money makes a huge difference, but there are some things money can't buy. Some things it can buy a lot, but not some other things. So, okay, investigators are secretly using keyboard warrants to help track down criminals. Okay, so the relatively new style of warrant orders Google to track and provide user data on anyone who searches specific names, addresses, or telephone numbers.
Wow.
So what do you think about that?
Well, that's crazy. I wonder how that works.
Well, it wouldn't be that hard. I mean, Google can get it. I mean, your search, your search history never goes away.
Well, yeah, I know that, but I wonder how they send a certain person a warrant. I mean, I wonder what if you have like an old
Google?
What if you have an old Google account and they send it to the old Google account, but that's not your account no more?
Well, they send the warrants to Google.
And so what do they do? They send it after the name of whatever you put, like
let's say
Anna.
Find out. I think they can send a warrant to Google for a certain person's search terms.
Okay. I mean, I get what you're saying. I'm just saying in the aspect of the flaw part, like if someone has like 2 or 3 Google accounts, I mean, how would they know?
That's nothing, man. It's nothing.
I don't know.
I mean,
it just seems like
they can figure out stuff a lot more complicated than that. Or Google. Okay, so it's to track and provide data on anyone who searches specific names, addresses, or telephone numbers. So I don't know. Okay, like say if they want to. Shit, I hope none of them are listening to me. Like, okay, say somebody looks for, say somebody's looking for napalm or something like that. So they can find out who's looking for napalm.
Oh, gotcha. I see what you're saying. I see how you're saying.
Yeah.
When you said warrant, I'm thinking you're serving somebody a warrant.
Well, they're serving Google.
Well, I mean, I'm saying, but I thought like an actual individual person that's on Google a warrant. That's how I'm thinking about it.
No, they would. Well, it would be they would serve a warrant on Google to get the information to charge to see if they can charge somebody, to see if they're able to.
Yeah, I get it now. I get it.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking the name, because I'm like, if you're going to serve, let's say you're going to serve Roselle a warrant on Google. And what if my name isn't Roselle on Google? But now I see how you said it. So I understand now.
Yeah, stuff like name. Oh, yeah. I mean, stuff like names. I mean, their interns can figure that. Can anybody can figure that out. But that was a big deal after 9/11. Libraries were being ordered to turn over information from people that had used their computer. And it was the same thing, people that had searched for certain information. And it's just really tricky because you could be, it's like, okay, I could be looking up information, like say I was looking up information about, radical Islam or something, and they could look like, wait, well, am I trying to find a terrorist cell to go join, or am I just trying to learn? And that was the point. So there were librarians that were silenced. They weren't allowed to say what was happening because they were in these, because they were under court ordered, but they were court ordered. But, I mean, people are supposed to feel that they can go to the library and look up anything. So, I mean, it's scary. I don't, our world has changed, technology has changed. So I'm not going to completely write off any way. I mean, law enforcement needs to change too. So I don't really write off anything, I mean, if they can't be stuck using pens and papers and encyclopedias. So yeah, that was, like people talked about the search terms for the 9/11 terrorists. I mean, people use search terms are used in court cases all the time. And they will, like, particularly, like, if somebody's Google Maps, if you're trying to find where somebody went, I mean, that's if you're hunting for bodies or anything like that. So, okay, so when we, okay, and that really gets us to Facebook. We talked about this lady a little bit last week, didn't we? Bizzle, did you see anything of the Facebook whistleblower?
No, I didn't even, you know what I'm saying? I haven't heard anything on that.
Really? Didn't I talk about it last week?
Oh, you told me about it, what had happened, but I didn't see anything on the actual whistleblower.
Okay, so she's reported. Okay, so she's apparently, like, when the government wanted to regulate cigarettes, they could get information from the cigarette companies about what goes into them. I mean, like for the FDA, for regulating drugs, the government can get information about what's in the drugs. The government cannot get information about algorithms. So that's why it's so difficult for them to regulate Facebook or anything, to even, how the fuck would you even do that? And this is like worldwide. And so the Facebook, and we've talked about this was okay, so you're supposed to be able to report things that are dangerous. 90% of that, some crazy percentage like that is just in the US. So the rest of the world is kind of on their own. So there's crystal clear evidence that Facebook was used to accelerate genocide and violence in Ethiopia and Myanmar. In what happened in, see, I finally figured out how they do it. Like somebody can like a fan page, and then the algorithm will lead to pages with abusive content. And so that's what happened with the Rohingya. So do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Okay, yeah. So I was like, okay, so that's what I mean by how dangerous the algorithms can be. So if you like, there's no control over that. Like if you're just wandering around, like, you know, like if you like a anti-government page, it will show you an algorithm that will get you to like a page promoting violence.
Ooh, gotcha.
So that is how they do it. So let's take a break for a minute, then we can come back and do some more talking, and then we can have then we'll take a break and have Mistrika come on.
Done deal. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. We'll be right back, everybody. Thank you.
You say God loves us all. Christianity was used to enslave my people. Tax the gays and work side by side with them, but say for marriage, they're not equal. You say I live in the land of the free and the home of the brave, but I know for a fact that the founding fathers had slaves. I know for a fact that the founding fathers had slaves. You tell me to give thanks and praise on Thanksgiving dinner, but you butchered and killed the so-called Indian and stole their land. I have the nerve to coin the phrase, Indian giver. I guess that's how you became the winner. The government says that we're spending too much and that they're broke. But every time I get paid, you skim tax money before I even get my check. Now that's what I call a joke. The so-called Indian already understood that you could never own the land and that the land owns you. I don't know. With your arrogance increasing, man, you need to grow. I don't know. With your arrogance and greed, man, you need to grow. Priests, politicians, and reverends love to scream and yell about gay marriage. It's a policy they'll always dispute. So why are reverends, priests, and politicians always caught with male prostitutes? Love and marriage should be for all people. Who are you to decide what constitutes as equal? You say it's a free country, but why does everything cost? Your greed infiltrates everything, and you could care less about the cost. As long as you get what you want and get called the boss. To you, it doesn't matter if the working class is at a financial loss. You're duplicity.
We are back. You are muted. You are muted.
I have my Facebook set up so it is so it's a lot easy. So it's a lot easier. So yeah, so everybody, me and Roselle have a show on November 11th at the Vallejo Project. It will be another Thurgood Thursday with films about Thurgood Marshall and Roselle playing music from that era. When you called me the other day, I'm like, wait, you were asking if we had a show tomorrow.
Yeah,
I
was tripping. I was tripping.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. There was somebody that came in on Zoom that I'd love to get him on our show, who runs a legal program in Oakland. And so I was looking at trying to get him to come speak. And then I was like, fuck it, this needs to be simple. All the shows I've been doing lately have been so complicated. I want this to be simple. Set up the thing, show the movies, play the music, and do some chatting. Okay, so that is the goal. Okay, so I've been reading about Burkina Faso in West Africa. 34 years ago, the President Thomas Sankara was assassinated. He was 37 years old. He was he was an independence leader. He was very dynamic and was working to make Burkina Faso independent from the West. And then he was assassinated by it's always this way, by like his buddy, by Blaise Compaoré. I don't speak French. And so now 14 men are going on trial, including the former president, who was just went into exile a year ago. So I mean, he's still a real hero to people. So hopefully this will help the country. This is somebody who was a really good leader, and, as happens so often, was assassinated. And so when you go back and get justice, it hopefully brings some healing and something constructive. So so Afghanistan, members of the G20 group of major economies have pledged to avert an economic catastrophe in Afghanistan. Pledges include a promise by European Commission to give 1 billion to Afghanistan and to neighboring countries taking in refugees. Like, in a way, I mean, you should probably give all the money to countries that will take refugees and help people get the fuck out of there. Because if you give the Taliban money, it's not gonna get to people, and it's not going to do anything for their human rights. It just makes me feel like screaming. Like, how can these, I mean, it is like murder. I mean, it is like genocide. They went in, and I mean, genocide is the deliberate targeting of a identified group and wiping them out. So basically, they wiped out the lives of 50% of the population. They just came in and did it. So I mean, that's what I would feel like if I don't know, like, if you were, like, that can happen. You can be going to school, you can be working, you can have your life, and it can all be taken away. And it just, like, yeah, that can happen. And I don't know what anybody can even do about it, because it didn't, nothing they did before. So yeah, man, give other countries money and help people get the fuck out, help everybody get the fuck out of Afghanistan. See how they manage with that, with if everybody leaves their country. Okay, so Irish author Sally Rooney is at the center of a controversy after refusing to allow her new book to be translated into Hebrew by an Israeli company. So when I first saw this, I thought she was refusing to allow her book to be translated into Hebrew, which some authors have done, which I think is really stupid. I mean, that is taking away the opportunity. That is your readers. That has nothing to do with don't take out your feelings about a government on people that speak their language. And if you want to express yourself, if you have opinions, you should want people to read your book. Alice Walker stopped allowing her work to be translated into Hebrew. And I just thought I just lost a lot of respect for her. That's just fucked up. I mean, people, that's your readers. You are only hurting your readers. The government does not give a fuck whether you do or don't do this. So she's not saying that. She doesn't want an Israeli company to do the translating. She said she's happy with a non-Israeli company did it. I mean, anybody could, a translation, there's getting something translated, you can do that. There's all sorts of places where you could do that. I mean, because the boycott is against Israeli businesses and all that. So, so she doesn't want to work with an Israeli company, but she wants Israelis to be able to read her book. So she's being called an anti-Semite, of course. So, and Israel is said to approve residency for hundreds of undocumented Palestinians. The Palestinian authorities announces approvals for 442 Palestinians without legal residency in the West Bank. The first mass regularization, that's their word, not mine, in years. And I mean, so that means that people have not had paperwork. They're not able to go anywhere. They live in fear of being arrested. They're not able to freely move about. So it's really wrong. And okay, so we followed the Ethiopian artifacts for a long time. And so there's been an appeal to the British Museum backed by Stephen Fry, the author, and the former Archbishop of Canterbury have urged that they be returned. But get this, they have never been displayed. The museum has never put them on display. Students aren't allowed to see them. Researchers aren't allowed to see them. They're just locked up. They just they've been sitting in these vaults for 150 years, unknown to people. Nobody is getting any benefit. And artifacts like that, should be available to scholars. People can learn a lot from that. But it's just that's just like being a hoarder. I don't know, and I think museums are pretty naturally hoarders, but so yeah, but so now, okay, like the Archbishop of Canterbury is saying that the stuff should be sent back. Come on. Okay, so what I'm doing this week is leading a book group about this book, The Pink Lady, The Many Lives of Helen Gahagan Douglas. She was born in 1900, and was an actor and from a very wealthy family, and she wanted to become an actor, but her father, it wasn't a case of like, no, I don't want my girls or anything. He wanted her to get an education. He believed women should be educated. But so she managed to get acting jobs while she was in college and was a real success. So she was able to do that. So she was a successful actor and opera. Then she decided to become an opera singer and was very successful at that. She sung Puccini, which is some of my very favorite movies. And she married Melvin Douglas, who was a very famous film star, and they moved to Los Angeles. And well, they did a lot of traveling around, and she became interested in politics. She learned about in the 30s, she learned about migrants. In California, there were migrants from the Dust Bowl and people with nothing. They had just left desperate circumstances. And so she started working to try and help them, and turned out to be very effective. See, I mean, actors and politicians, I mean, they have a lot in common. I mean, they both need to draw people in and engage with people, and they need to really like attention. So she became friendly with Eleanor Roosevelt, who was cultivating women leaders. I mean, Eleanor Roosevelt did a better job for women than pretty much than most people in the modern era. I mean, so she ran for Congress in 1944 and was elected. Before that, she built her way up. I mean, she had Hollywood connections, which helped a lot, but she also did a lot of traveling and connecting and meeting with people, and was good at raising money. Vital. So she was in Congress for 3 years and was very progressive. I've talked about that before, and ran for the Senate in 1950 against Richard Nixon. And so that's considered to be a campaign, I've talked about this before, a campaign that set a new high or low, depending on how you look at it, for campaigning, for dirty campaigning and personal attacks. And that is what they did to her. The Kennedys gave Nixon money. See, that's a burn dog move, man. That was burn dog in the 1950s. That's
burn dog.
Yeah. I mean, they were in her fucking party. I mean, Kennedy himself was gonna run against wound up running against Nixon in 1960, but they were just so fucking sexist and misogynist that they wanted him to win. I mean, if they'd know, if they hadn't been so fucking stupid. I mean, so she just was hung out to dry by members of her own party, not by Lyndon Johnson and Sam Rayburn Johnson. I mean Johnson, because they were very close. They were friends and they had an affair. And Rayburn, because he was loyal and he was really close to Johnson. So there's going to be a book club discussion of it on Thursday, and the author of the book I invited the author of the book to come in, so she'll be on Zoom. So when I'm going to be working with somebody, I try and find out absolutely everything I can about them. Like if you are going to have a musician on the show, you don't just know about one album or something that they did. You know about all of them. So okay, you see all these?
I see it.
She's written a lot of books. So I'm trying to familiarize myself with them before Thursday. They're fucking long. Part of the problem is she's one of these people that writes about such different things. I mean, she must not ever sleep because there's so much research that goes into her books. And so she does, they're all really different. Well, some of them have, so she wrote about FDR, and FDR figures a lot in the Pink Lady. She wrote about the potential for just what a scary time the 1930s was, and the threats to government, that hatred was being stoked against FDR, hatred and accusations. That I was watching a discussion about, could there be another civil war here in the United States? And people were saying that, you know, one of the things, and that was on my guy Mehdi Hassan's show. So somebody said that the Civil War was precipitated by an election that somebody didn't like, that people didn't like the results, that the South refused to accept the results of an election. So since we had the January 6th insurrection, in a way, we are having a civil war.
Somewhat. I guess we are, huh?
Yeah.
Didn't think about it like that.
Yeah. I mean, it means the country fighting it. I mean, it can mean a lot of different things. I mean, it's, you know, certainly very complicated, but yeah. And that they were pointing out states, I think in Arizona maybe, or there's still states where there's people refusing to certify elections. And so it's all pretty scary. So, okay, so she wrote about FDR. So I'm okay there. I'm like, you know, I know something about FDR. And she is from, I guess she's from Utah. And so she wrote a book about a woman, sort of her great-great-grandmother, who was English and then somehow became enamored with the Mormons and came to the United States and was in Utah, and then decided she didn't like it there, and went to California and was a midwife. So she has that book, and she also has one about a massacre in 1857 when a wagon train laden with gold was attacked. 140 people were killed. And so nobody ever knew who did it, supposedly, but the question is, was it Mormon dignitaries that ordered that? And yeah, of course, they did stuff like that. They were really violent. So she has that, and then she has a book about Bechtel Company, about the power that this one certain company has over everything, you know, sort of money and government stuff. And then she has a book called The Money and the Power, The Making of Las Vegas and Its Hold on America, 1947-2000. So that's a lot of books for me to be reading before Thursday. I mean, I want to be informed, man. I feel so like, whoa, I don't want, but I'm really like, I started to read the Pioneer Woman book, and I just wasn't that interested in it. And I'm really not that interested in the Bechtel Corporation. It's just tricky because sometimes, I mean, with writers, I mean, a lot of writers specialize. So usually if I'm interested, if I like somebody's book, I usually want to go read everything else they've written. I try to, but I have actually had a couple of her books sitting on my Kindle for years through Kindle Unlimited that I've been wanting to read since I liked the Pink Lady so much, and I haven't because I'm just not that interested in her. So that is what I'm trying to do over the past couple weeks. I've just been so busy working on my Pauline Murray presentation, and I'm working on the comic book. And one of the things I need to do, I've gotten to some of the hard parts where, because I have the scripts, it's not the doing the, it's not the writing the dialogue, it's not the doing the scripts, it's easy, but it's, so I need to start giving text for some of the panels, like expository, just trying to explain what's happening. And so I need like a paragraph or something, and I'm just obsessing over it. I mean, it's stuff I've talked about all the time, but I'm so nervous to put it down in writing that I'll get it wrong. And yeah, I was thinking about sending somebody one of the panels from the cartoons. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that, because if he writes back saying this doesn't look like Fired Rustin, then I'm like fucked, because in the I don't know, because I mean, I only have like one or two images, and there's going to be a whole lot of them. And so I've told the artist that I definitely want to make sure that all the pictures he's done of him so far, he looks super serious. And I'm saying I want him, we got to have some pictures of him having some fun, because he was a fun guy. So yeah, so that's going to be interesting. And so that is supposed to come out in January. Okay, so the Ethiopian army has launched a coordinated attacks on all fronts against forces from the northern Tigray region, the rebels say. So I mean, so when we talk, people claim that is the problem with returning artifacts to countries that are at war, which is that's legitimate. But and okay, so archaeologists believe that they have uncovered the original brick foundation of one of the nation's oldest historically Black churches, known as the First Baptist Church, that was from the 18th century. So that'll be really cool. And they also found a graveyard near there. And so I was just reading this article with pictures of people hunting for the bodies of those relatives. There's 100,000 missing people hunting bodies in Mexico. And so the president of Mexico has allocated funds to help people. I don't even know what anybody can do about that, but it's just so sad. And then Ghana is honoring W.E.B. Du Bois. I don't know. Okay, we gotta like do it. Du Bois needs his own section. The Rolling Stones have finally, after 50 years, they're on a current tour in their wheelchairs or whatever. They finally retired that super racist song called Brown Sugar. It's just, when I first heard it when I was a kid, and I had no idea what it was what it was saying. I was like, oh, what's that? And then later on, I was like, you're fucking, I can't. And so they're doing that great little trick that we've talked about before. They're saying like, oh no, the song's not racist. The song is about racism. So it's like, no, shut up. This is not your place, not like, you're, so yeah. Finally, it took 50 years and they still like haven't committed. So yeah, now Patti Smith's ass needs to drop her racist music. She's like one of Okay. So you want to take another break and then I'll send Trika the link and we can come break some stuff down?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we'll be back.
You and I had so much fun. When we met, you became my trusted one. I poured my heart out to you, and you listened with care. Our schoolmates thought we were lovers, but that we didn't dare. I spent years chasing immature girls, and you were always ahead of the rest. We had a mutual attraction, but I just wanted sex. You always made me smile. You and I could have been the best. I should have told you that I love you. I should have told you that I care. You were the one that made me laugh. You were the one that was always there. I should have told you that I love you. I should have told you that I care. You were the one that made me laugh. You were the one that was always there. I should have told you. 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 I was young and foolish and couldn't see past my penis. We could have been together, and now there's nothing left between us. You and I together could have lived the life. Now I hear that you are someone else's wife. I'm sure you're happy with your husband and kids. And now I just think about all the things I never said or did. I should have told you that I love you. I should have told you that I care. You were the one that made me laugh. You were the one that was always there. I should have told you that I love you. I should have told you that I care. You were the one that made me laugh. You were the one that was always there. Now I've changed and have grown to be a better man. I'm no longer blinded by physical beauty. I see things for what they are, and now I understand. I just want to say that on this very day, I love you, and you were the one that got away. I love you, and you were the one that got away. I should have told you that I love you. I should have told you that I care. You were the one that made me laugh. You were the one that was always there. I should have told you. I should have told you. I should have told you. I should have told you.
Whoa. Welcome back, Anna's Historical Podcast Radio. Anna, you in the building?
Yes, I am. Welcome back, everybody. Whose music have you been playing tonight, Roselle? Whose song was about gay marriage?
The Noble House. I think
Who's that?
He was on Duck Soup a while back.
Oh yeah, cool. I like that. Yeah. So are you getting any feedback from being played on are you hearing from anybody that's heard us on OzCat?
No, but no, I haven't.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't really. You know what? I haven't been by OSAC. Most of the people I know, I don't think they work there no more. I don't know anybody
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
You would probably know the people there now. They didn't totally kind of flip to a different.
Really?
To me, it
Well,
seems like it. I mean, it used to be when I was there was more kind of hip hoppy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's the same way like that anymore.
Well, don't they have a whole bunch of different shows?
They do have different shows, but I don't know. The last person I talked to who was still there, they said it wasn't the same. But I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I really don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
'cause,
hear
I mean,
like
it's
I used to.
yeah, that's what you. I mean, it's community radio, so it should be reflecting the community. So, yeah, I was listening to a little bit of the Vallejo City Council meeting earlier. Always excitement. They had this. They're having an issue about Roman. Go away. Go away. They're having an issue about rules of decorum during public meetings. And I don't know. I mean, it's kind of people were really like staff members were upset that were getting slammed by people at public meeting, and I felt sort of bad for them, but say hi, Roman. So they set some rules, which apparently, and now the ACLU is on them about that. Oh, it's just so pathetic. But yeah, you should have the right to criticize people. And hey, look who's here. Hey, Trika.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good. How you? Don't mean to interrupt. I'm
Good.
still listening. You should
No,
have
no.
the right.
So I wanted. No, I've deliberately not been looking at the chat because I've been waiting for your comments in person.
I haven't really been putting a lot in the chat, so you haven't missed much. But I've been listening to the conversation, and I always throw in my comments.
Yeah.
During.
Well, no, that's good, man. You don't run your mouth about stuff. But so you think so you think we're in a civil war?
Yes. Did you read my comment?
I saw that one. Yeah.
Yes, we are in a civil war, and I think it's more. It's superficial, but it's a little bit deeper as well. And I think that's why a lot of people are missing that we're actually going through a civil war.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we've said a couple times, like a democracy is weak in the first place, and B, democracy. I mean, we never were a democracy because of, the founding fathers were enslaved people. So,
and it's kind of like even with us thinking that we are in a democracy with this two-party system, why haven't we broke out of that by now? Because it doesn't benefit anybody. They pretty much are the same evils. It's like picking the lesser of two evils. Like, I just rather not pick any evil. Like, can we just be good? Like, so
I would like to be, I would just like to be able to have more choices, not just one or another. Like I'm not going to say I'm a Democrat, like I vote Democrat.
I can't say I am either one or either.
And I'm like, no, I'm not a Democrat. I have,
But there are some elections where they make you have to choose.
Oh, yeah.
The two of them. And it's like, you guys are not the only two on this earth. So why do I have to choose between just the two of you just to be able to put my voice in for this election or put my voice in for this bill or, this city council thing? So there's a lot of loopholes.
Yeah, and I definitely, I'm definitely sympathy. I mean, it's frustrating when you feel that like third and fourth parties like could keep somebody you want that's better from
Mhm.
winning, but I certainly understand where people are coming from about it. Like,
Mhm.
why should you vote? You know, like, yeah, why do we always have to pick that? But
I don't think that that's a fair option, but I feel like they've created this whole created this whole idea that you have to pick between one of those two when you really don't. Like, as harsh as it sounds, even withdrawing your voice for picking from one or two of them is still more impactful than you picking one or two of them.
A lot of people disagree with that.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And that's the problem. Too many of us disagree with that.
Yeah. I don't. My show.
And I'm not even gonna lie. I voted for Biden because I was like, fuck, no, I'm not gonna take another 4 years of Trump.
Exactly. Yeah. My show is a place for people to express their opinions.
Mhm.
And so that's, that's what I like hearing that. So, yeah, that's, but there was still like, a lot of people blame Jill Stein for Trump being elected in the first place because people voted for a third party. And so, it's hard not to, for me, it's hard not to feel resentful about that if it contributed to Trump getting in, but it shouldn't.
It's a step forward, though.
Yeah, but
it probably did split the vote, but at the same time, it shouldn't even come down to it being a split vote over a few people going.
Well, yeah, somebody should be able to win decisively. And me and Roselle have this conversation about the Electoral College. The Electoral College, it's supposed to make it so somebody will win decisively. That's how it's supposed to work.
Supposed to be. Okay, so do you agree with the Electoral College and how that's set up?
I do. And here's an example of why. How it's supposed to work. Okay, like I used to live on a block where I lived by myself and everybody else, just about everybody else, had several people living in their home. Living in their home. So with most things, say if something was going to be divided, it would be divided among a lot of people. So their home would get more. But what I would say, like, okay, say there's like a flood and people are coming to rescue people. In a lot of situations, they'd just be like, okay, well, we're just going to go get the most people and not go to her house at all because she's just one person. So the Electoral College is supposed to make it so that each unit counts, so that you can't be totally written off.
Well, and actually the Electoral College thing came about when most cities or states weren't being counted in the election votes, like in the big votes. So they made it so like, hey, if this amount of y'all vote, then you account for this amount of electoral votes. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a way to try to even it out and try to like push people, motivate people to go and vote and get more involved in that process. But now that is not necessary, that's why I say, do you think that we need the Electoral College? I don't think that we do.
Yeah, I think it would, what I would like people to, if we ran better candidates, it wouldn't be an issue. So and that's how I think we
structured it a little bit more so that it is evenly distributed between the states and everything. And it's not, it gives, what the Electoral College does is it gives a lot more power to like smaller states who don't have to have as many voters as opposed to like states like California, where we don't even have as many electoral votes as we should as a population. We definitely have more people than Idaho, but Idaho may have more electoral votes. So that's why I say, like, I think it needs to be redesigned.
Because if it's just like, in a way, it's this idea of having protection. You should be able to win. It shouldn't be 51-49. That's the same principle of the filibuster. That's why it's saying you need 60 votes, not 51.
Right.
It's the same principle as that. And
right.
Yeah, like a lot of, and there's a book called by Zerlina Maxwell called The End of White Politics. And she looks at the numbers from because after Trump was elected, you know, a lot of people were like, oh my God, blah, 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 the white working class are so upset, blah, blah, what's going on with them. She looked at the numbers, just the numbers. And her thing is just, okay, well, forget about them. If we get everybody to vote, people of color that are not voting, they will be outnumbered. So,
that, I think that is the scariest thing for a lot of leaders right now, the one percenters, you know what I mean? The ones that don't want to give up their powers, because they know that if everybody gets this knowledge, and if everybody knows the power and strength in voting, you ain't got to be no enlightened person. Go out and vote a certain way, and you could overturn a lot of things. But a lot of people just want to sit on their ass and complain, but you can't complain if you're not playing in the game.
Yeah, and the focus should be bringing people in. And I mean, that's why I just think it's so important for everybody, you know, I mean, for young people, for people that aren't white, to see people like them in office. That's like, you know, people I know like don't like Ilhan Omar, and I'm like, I don't care. She's like a young person who you know, and she has a background that a lot of people can relate to. Her. Some people are bigger than themselves, and if she can like bring more people into the process, that's what matters.
And I think, like you just said, I think a lot of it comes from them being able to see someone like them in that position, and someone like them speaking up and saying something. But we haven't had people like that for a lot of time, and we're not going to just place no blame either way or no way, because it's systematic and it's also cultural. Because when you are one that speaks up and you want to stand up, you see what happens to you. So there's that fear.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like for me, I try like there's
like you said, like, just seeing more people our
young
age.
Leaders, like with some of the young leaders here in Vallejo. I mean, I'm like, I support, I'm always like, anything I can do for you, I support you. I will, like, you know, I'm here for you, because.
And I want to tell you, I appreciate you, Anna, because I know you are out there on the streets and you do be grinding like that. And we need more people like that to show our younger people that it ain't just about who look like you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You got to know who ride with you, who got the same beliefs as you, who got the same ideas as you, who going to support you no matter what. Color doesn't really matter when it comes down to it. Of course, color comes in the picture, in the bigger picture, but think about it on the micro scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't understand how important doing your voting needs and deeds in your local government, how much effect that has on the bigger government. So you can't sit around complaining all the time if you ain't doing shit.
You gotta try. So wait, so in Duck Soup, Trika, were you just at a music festival or something?
Yes, I actually, one of my good friends, he's like my brother, but he throws a music festival in Ontario every year. It's called Thought Fest. The Happiness of Pursuit, which I thought was a good little twist on that. Like, it's not the pursuit of happiness, it's the happiness of pursuit. So Thought Fest, he just had it 2 weeks ago. And he does it around this time every year. Last year they couldn't do it because of COVID, of course. But it's grown like really, really big and strong. And he got that just from getting inspiration from someone else throwing a fest. And he was like, I could do it. And we was like, are you gonna do it? And he did it. And it's pretty amazing. And he has like real like hip hop legends come through and like bless it. And it's just,
that is super cool. What is it called for people that are listening?
It's called Thop Fest, THOP Fest.
Okay. Cool.
It's usually the first week of October or somewhere around there. He was saying that he might think this is his last year doing it because it's a lot of, stress.
Yeah.
And after being with him and working with him on this last one, I was like, yeah, bro, I understand. Like, I didn't even get to talk to him until everything was over. So that was like 8 hours. But it's a lot. And I don't think that a lot of people understand how much it takes to put into something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I know you know, because just doing a show is a lot. I tell people about doing podcasts. I'm like, yeah, it looks really simple, but it can be a little taxing sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, it's a great opportunity, I mean, I just feel very blessed to be able to speak out and
get your message out. You have a bigger message that people need to hear.
The freedom of speech and freedom of association, freedom of movement. I mean, I'm grateful for that every day. And because if I think about the world, so many people in the world and in this fucking country, that don't have that. And so,
it's like, I'm going to take advantage until I can't take advantage. So anybody that thinks I'm being selfish, so what?
Fuck that.
Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
God
okay, like here's the thing.
I'm gonna put it out there. You don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. That's the biggest thing for me, is like, you don't have to watch me. You have a right, you have a choice. But
yeah. I mean, I was talking, one of the things with Polly Murray, because I look at descriptions of this. I didn't get to this in my presentation because I was raring to, because people were saying like, well, oh yeah, somebody said, Ruth said she was feisty. And I'm like, well, what the fuck does that mean? The person that said that was at the time was not her peer at the time. At the time, Polly Murray was an elder to her. And there were people saying that even like newers, they're going like, oh yeah, well, don't cross her. She was real fun. And I'm like, well, what were you crossing her about? She was brilliant.
And two, do they understand what she went through?
Exactly.
I'll be feisty as fuck too.
Exactly. But she was fucking brilliant. She was brilliant. So I'm like, well, what are you arguing with her about? So just those things like totally sneak in. There was a biography of Shirley Graham Du Bois, who was a writer. She wrote opera. She was a teacher. She was a leader. Even the biographer, he wrote a biographer of, even the biographer would talk about her being difficult and stuff. And I was like, no, she was an outstanding woman that expected people to treat her that way, as an outstanding woman. So, and
I think a lot of strong women get mislabeled like
exactly.
that. Because
I will never do that, man, ever.
A lot of strong women get mislabeled like that because a lot of people don't understand exactly what they had to go through to become what they are today. And they probably have to be that strong-willed or that, outspoken to protect themselves. And
Yeah, and it's like, okay, this
Don't
person
beat them
is
down
talking
because of
about
it.
something that they feel strongly about.
They're just
That's got nothing to do with you. Don't be labeling.
Yeah.
So,
and it's
yeah.
like you can't. I think that's the first thing that people do with strong women. They automatically think to label them in some way, like, oh, well, they're aggressive or she's feisty, or and it's like,
yeah.
But if I wouldn't have been this way, you wouldn't even know my name right now.
Yeah.
So I have to be this way for a certain degree. And if you feel some type of way about it, that's your personal problem.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with who she was as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's a balance though, because we talk about that comes up sometimes in my prayer group, and people talk about, like, not worrying about what somebody say about you. But I'm like, I've had problems, I've had like workplace problems because of not caring what people thought about me. So you do need to.
You have to find that balance, because if you don't say something for a long time, then they keep on doing that bullshit. But if you do say something too early, then you get labeled as a bitch. So it's like, you got to find that balance. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be that bitchy ass, cool ass person that y'all keep talking shit about, but I'm going to be here. You know what I mean? So I totally understand it.
Okay. So Trika, what were you saying was the big loophole? This was after when we were talking about the statue getting the red paint thrown on it.
What was I talking about when I said the big loophole? I think I was talking about how you can be, I think I was talking about Columbus, how you can be looked at as a savior, but the big loophole about it is you weren't the savior. There were others before you. But if anyone comes behind and says, oh, don't you dare talk shit about Christopher Columbus, then you get shitted on. And it's like, oh, but do y'all see this? Like, he wasn't the first explorer that came here.
And the concept of discovery, like, no, people, and like,
you can't discover shit when people are already living here.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it wasn't just Black people, it was people of all colors that were already living here.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what today, yesterday was. Everybody's like, yeah, it's Indigenous Day. I was like, what the fuck? Oh, Columbus Day.
Yeah.
It's such a slap in the face. So now all of a sudden it's Indigenous Day.
Oh, this was something I meant to look up. I'll have it for next week, because the Secretary of the Interior is a Native American woman, and we've talked somewhat here about missing murdered Indigenous women, but Biden just did some declaration or something of, he just restored some land or something. I'm going to have to look that up, and I'll bring it up next week. Pardon me?
I say I'm gonna have to check that out too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I was listening when you were talking about the story about Bruce Beach, and that's amazing. But like I messaged you last week, I was like, that's just a step. That's just the first step.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot more of that is gonna be coming, because you can't keep a lie buried for too long. Secrets always come out. The truth always comes to the light. And it's crazy that you would think that people had that in California. Because they thought that Black people didn't even own no land in California.
Yeah,
and that's a fucking lie.
A resort. I mean, oh God, it was beautiful. So I hope they open it up. I hope they open it back up.
I hope they do too. It would be like a whole ass Black beach. And you know what? They wouldn't even care if you ain't Black and you came. Just come. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then what was the other thing you said? You was talking about something else. Oh, about them getting upset about the statues.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, rip them all the fuck down.
Seriously.
We don't even fucking need statues. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care who it is.
And the
So
one with the red paint was in New York City. It's like if the fucking Southerners can start taking down statues, you guys can. When that all started a couple years ago, I had no idea. I'd never even heard of most of those people, of like the Confederate whatevers. I was like, oh,
I didn't know there were that many statues in New York.
Yeah.
Or in the world, period. But New Yorkers have the biggest problem with taking them down. And I'm just like,
which is crazy because it's like even in like San Francisco had some real racist sculpture that was taken down. Because
and New York is literally like the melting pot. So it's kind of like, why wouldn't you guys want these things taken down? Because they don't represent your people at all. They don't represent the culture you present. But that's what I say. You don't really know until you get somewhere what it's really like. So
yeah, and make new art, and
you got it.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I don't really look at statues like that. They kind of freak me out. I have a fear of statues, but
what about like even like cute, like what about statues of like animals or something? Like
anything like huge buildings and huge statues, I have like some kind of phobia. I have no idea where it comes from, but
wow.
I still don't want to see the racist shit up. Like, hey, take that back.
Yeah. I mean that one of the one of the theater. It's really you look at, because I mean I think because you can walk by stuff a lot, or I mean I just remember that like the one in San Francisco I never really noticed, and you get it pointed out. It's like, oh my god, what the fuck? That is some completely stereotypical.
Yeah. No, I completely understand it, but
yeah. So did you see the Many Saints of Newark, the Sopranos prequel?
No. Okay, so I've told myself that I'm going to shut down everything tomorrow and watch it because I heard it's really worth watching.
I liked it a lot.
And I've been like falling asleep to Sopranos for the past week. So I've been waking up shooting people and stuff. I don't know. Like, I'm like, you know what? Why do I fall asleep to Sopranos? But I need to watch it. Everyone's like, you don't need to watch the whole Sopranos show to understand what's going on in the movie. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Oh no, you don't at all. They're just so good. Yeah, you don't need to have seen the Sopranos at all.
So do they have like the original actors from the series in the movie?
No.
Okay.
I think one person, but he's playing somebody different. Yeah, I think just one person. And one of the original actors does a voiceover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna watch it tomorrow. I'm kind of super excited about it. Like that's why I'm making a whole big deal about it. It's just gonna be me. No big deal, y'all. But
and there's a movie about the Williams sisters that's going to be coming out.
Oh yeah. Okay. Will Smith is playing the dad, right?
Oh, I don't know. We saw the preview. We saw the preview at the
movies.
Yeah.
Okay. I gotta look that up.
Man, I am so happy for like girls that's coming out. I mean, Jesus, you could not. I mean,
women are winning right now.
Exactly. You know, it's like girls.
I just hope that we can all
work hard. Yeah.
Keep pushing each other up and stop and not push each other down.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you're seeing like women athletes, and you know, you're seeing these girls working for their dream or whatever. So yeah, I'm really pleased. Like something for girls. But you know, I mean, I'm like, yeah, it should be good for everybody. But you know, like of course, boys should, you know.
Right. We're girls first. So
yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, it should be great for everybody, like you said.
Yeah. Gavin Newsom's on a roll. He just signed like some executive order for toy aisles to have like gender neutral areas.
What?
I don't think
crazy.
that's the governor's place at all. I mean,
No, I think he needs to stick his head out of that business because
exactly. He has
they're
more
definitely
important
going to
things
come
to
for
do.
him after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've been looking for a reason anyway. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know who I'm voting for, but I'm just voting no on the recall. Like, let us just run this course, and then we could do that again.
Well,
when it's-
exactly. I mean, it's just so stupid. It's just pure counterproductive. Like that's all money that could be spent on services. But like,
It's
I was
so
like, are you fucking serious? I mean, you know, it's not his, like, you're like trying to mandate how stores display toys. You should have better things to do. And it's the business should decide, you know. I mean, I don't like gender regimentation, but it's not my business, you know. I'm not gonna. So yeah, you know.
Well, and it's something that's been in place for so long. Like it's always been, oh, boys blue, girls pink. Like
yeah, you know.
That's how they organize the store.
Except they don't. Well, now, I mean, there's like, so, I mean, there's just, I mean, when I was a kid anyway, there wasn't as much marketing to kids. Like there were no like boy or girl, like now he was talking something about things like toothbrushes. You know, when I was a kid, there was just, there were no girl or boy toothbrushes and stuff. That kind of drives me crazy, but you know, the governor should still keep his nose out of it.
I think that's, you know, well, the government themselves aren't keeping their nose out of a lot of personal people's business. And I think that what's going on in Texas is giving all these other people a little extra oomph and power in their back to go and do shit they ain't got no business doing.
Yeah.
You don't have the right or choice to make a choice about what I do with my body or with my kid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what he's running off of. What's up, bro?
What's going on?
You real quiet.
Oh no, I'm just listening, just soaking it in.
Yeah. So Trika, you got a show this week?
I do.
Do you plan your shows very much?
I don't. I do, like, I plan the guests. I try to plan my guests like ahead of time, just because I don't want to bring someone on that's not going to vibe with someone else. Like I want it to be cohesive in that manner. As far as what we talk about, and I'll start with a couple topics, but I just kind of let it just go how it goes. Sometimes it works, and sometimes I'm like, you know,
yeah,
I gotta stop you, bro. Like I gotta cut you off. You know what I'm saying? But I'm figuring it out. I'm still new to the game.
Oh yeah, yeah. When I look back from when we started doing the show, I have like, you know, we'd be like stopping probably like every 15 minutes or something. I mean, I could not believe how long. I could never have thought that I could talk as long as now.
Exactly. That's the thing too. I'm like, damn, we were on here for 2.5 hours. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What were we talking about? And I realized that like a lot of my guests come on and they want to talk. And as long as they don't get disrespectful or say anything too much off course, I let them, you know, share their story.
Yeah.
But I mean, I am starting to realize like I gotta get a little bit more handle on it. Like, okay, you only get 15, 20 minutes, bro. Like, you know, because we'll be on here all fucking day if I just let you talk, you know?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I think especially on Zoom too, because you can't like, it's really tricky.
It's not like I can just pause them. Like I have to just let me just let you talk. Okay, you're gonna keep talking. Okay, this is cool. Okay, this is not cool. Like, you know, I go through all the emotions, but I think it's more therapy for me than it is for anybody else.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody knows that yet. They probably do now because I just said it. But it's like therapy for me to get certain things out that I probably wouldn't get out in a normal conversation. But yeah, it's fun times.
Yeah. I've talked more to Roselle than, because I like spend a lot of time by myself. The only people I've talked more to Roselle than anybody but my dad and my brother. And since my brother, probably my dad, because my brother's so busy, I don't talk to him as much. But yeah.
Right. I could totally feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you live by yourself?
I live by myself.
Yeah, me too. So yeah.
So yeah, I have to talk to Roselle more than I talk to anybody else. And I'm sure he gets sick of me sometimes, but
no, he doesn't.
Sorry. I mean, the funny thing is that when you asked, do you plan out your shows? Like he asked me every Monday, the week of our show, like, so you ready for your show? And I'm like, nope. Not until Thursday. I don't have to worry about it, but yeah, I probably should get more on top of that. Nope. It's Tuesday. I still only have 2 more days to get it together.
Yeah.
But I'd love to have you on whenever you're not too busy, lady.
Thank you so much. Anytime.
I don't think you ever been on our show yet.
No, I think it was like once for like a couple minutes, but yeah, I'd love to.
I think there's a lot of people talking, and I've learned my lesson. No. I have a guest limit. So once the guest list closed, it's done.
Yeah.
Too many is just too much. So
yeah. Well, yeah, because you just want to be able to really, if everybody's saying something, you want to get a conversation really going, and yeah.
And actually get what you want to say out.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And I think that's like my biggest thing is like, I want to make sure my guests get to say what they want to say and get it out there. Even if it means I don't talk the whole show, that's fine. I hear myself talk all the fucking time. I'm good.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I talk to myself every day. So, I mean, my whole thing is to get people's messages out and let everybody else hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's fun, with Zoom. I mean, we wouldn't be able to be gotten to know each other. And,
no.
When we started doing this show on Zoom, I wasn't sure how it would work, but it's been great.
It's kind of, I mean, I guess because I didn't come from the time when everybody was doing it in person, but I kind of feel like it's more accessible and it's more convenient as far as like linking a whole group of people together who got a whole bunch of different shit going on. So
I know it makes it easier to have guests.
What?
It makes it easier to have guests.
Oh yeah.
Remember how Anna, we used to try to get people to come and it was just hard to get them just to come over.
It was really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like we're having this right now. I'm all the way in San Diego and you guys are all the way in NorCal. So it's like without Zoom, it probably wouldn't be something that would be possible.
The show wasn't as often then because, I mean, if we were still, if we were still doing it in person, it would not be every week. It would just be.
Fuck no. No. I can barely do every other week.
Yeah, that was harsh.
So shit. I'm like, hell no.
Hey, and I just realized we've been doing that for a while, man. I remember I would do you, and then 2 days later I do Duck Soup here.
Yeah.
Back to back. Woo.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
That's a real job. Shit. And that's what I say. People don't understand, like, doing stuff like this it seems easy. But for one, a lot of people can't just get online and just talk about what they want to fucking talk about and not give a shit about what anybody else got to say. You know what I'm saying? But it is a little bit draining because it takes work to put together a podcast.
I'm tired after a show. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Trying to keep, yeah. See, my show used to be once a month, and then it was twice a month, and then.
and now you're 4 times a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not judging you, girl, but I pray for you because I'm like, I did when we did 2 shows back to back, week to week. I was like, yeah, no, that's
Well,
not
your
in the
show
cards
is
for
different.
me.
I mean, my show isn't. You talk about feelings. We don't
Yeah.
really talk about feelings, so it's different. Yeah.
My show goes deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's very draining.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't. Yeah. This isn't a.
We don't get like that over here, Trika.
No.
But I appreciate your show too, though. I still be watching your shit. Like, yup. Educate us, Anna. Like, I'll be right there with you. That's why you see me in your chat room, like, you. And sometimes you don't see my comments until after you've said it, so you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like,
yeah.
When she watches a playback, she'll see when I put it in there. Like,
yeah. Well, that was, we gotta do this again, because I look at your comments afterward and I'm like, oh, she's been saying all this stuff. So I mean, it's a good way to like run it down, because it's like I gotta go through a bunch of stuff and just get it out, because if I like lose my train of thought, it's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been saying that to Ro lately. I'm like, I got to get some kind of structure because I be forgetting where I'm at, what I'm doing, what I'm talking about. But yeah, I totally understand. I definitely appreciate you for having me on.
Oh, well, you're so welcome, honey. I love getting a chance to chat with you.
Likewise. And I'm always in the chat. I mean, I may say some off the wall shit, but
I love that. I just think it's a huge compliment to me. I mean, people listening to me, I mean, I'm flattered, even if like somebody thinks I'm wrong, I'm like, they're paying attention. And that's
what are you talking about? Have you got a podcast? Yes, we listen to you.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not tell you, but I'm going to show you that I'm here, whether I'm on the show or not. I'm still a willfully participant because I think you drop a lot of gems and you open up a lot of conversations or discussions that a lot of people don't want to necessarily have, but we need to have them.
We do, and we'll continue doing that. So, okay, everybody. So you can come back to this channel on Thursday night and hear more Trika. Know better, do better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
9
o'clock. And so, yeah, I think we will be back here next Tuesday. 8 to 10, Global History. Roselle, you got anything to announce?
I think that's about it. And Thurgood Marshall, when is that?
November 11th. So
November 11th.
Yeah.
At the Hub. So
yeah,
we're gonna do that too.
Thurgood.
Yeah, Thurgood Thursday.
I want to tell you, Anna, I had to watch that movie after you brought it to my perspective. I was like, oh yeah.
Did you like it?
Chadwick did a good job.
Oh God, yes. Yeah, it's a great film.
He did a good job.
Yeah, he sure did. So, okay. Good night, everybody. See you next time. Thank you so much. Okay.